朋友们好，今天要跟大家分享的呢，是在总统辩论会当天，我在关键摇摆州宾州的关键摇摆县北安普敦的实地采访。在昨天节目里谈了大致的情况，就有朋友呢很感兴趣，问在哪里可以看到原声的采访。因为要翻译加上中文字幕，所以呢还是需要花些时间制作才可以发布的。那么在正式进入这个采访节目之前呢，我还会要介绍一下这个北安普敦县为什么这么的重要。首先呢，我还要特别的感谢这2天慷慨捐助新田这个摇摆州实地采访项目的朋友们。我呢是在9月9号晚上第一次公布的哈，那短短2-3天里捐款已经接近了筹款目标的2/3了。朋友们真是太给力了哈，给我和我的团队呢都是非常非常大的鼓励，我们非常的感动。这也说明呢，很多朋友是非常认同在摇摆州实地采访选民的价值和重要性的。有观众朋友就留言说：“新田辛苦了，谢谢你带来宾州现场的民调，太宝贵了。”也有说越来越喜欢看你的节目了，尽了绵薄之力支持你，辛苦了，继续加油，让节目越做越好。那也有朋友说捐款了，而且呢，提醒新田在出去采访的时候要注意安全，真的让人感到很温馨哈。那连远在欧洲的朋友也在支持，说谢谢新田辛苦的跑一线，给我们带来现场采访，我在欧洲也会捐款支持你。也有说新田的工作太有意义了，有闲有钱的观众请支持，在帮新田鼓励大家来支持，真的非常感谢。那也有朋友留言说，希望我能够多采访女性选民，尤其是乡村城镇的。那么这也就是我下一步很想要去做的哈。那么希望能够达成，也欢迎大家呢提出其他的一些希望我采访的问题。那还有朋友问捐款的链接在哪里？那就是我的个人网页新田 talks.com。那在下面的描述栏里就有这个链接，点击进去呢，你就可以看到2024年美国大选摇摆州实地采访。在主页右面呢，你就可以看到这个捐款项目目标呢是6000元，那现在呢已经将近4000了，在您看的时候可能已经超过了。那您可以选择一次性捐款 one time， 也可以选择每个月的 monthly 捐款，金额呢可以选已经设定好的10元、50元、100元，也可以输入任何您想捐助的这个款项。昨天呢就有一位朋友一下子捐了2000元呐，那真的是太给力了。然后呢，再点击 Next， 下一步输入您的名字和邮箱，方便我感谢您。然后呢，再点击 Next， 就可以输入您的付款信息了。有心有能力捐款支持的朋友就可以通过上面这样简单的步骤来做。那么再一次感谢朋友们的支持，您的每一笔捐款呢，都会帮助我在接下来的不到2个月的采访中，更好的跟当地选民去互动，并确保节目质量。那么如果能够超出这个额度的话呢，我们就有条件去更多的摇摆州做采访了。好，那么下面我们就来看看这个我在宾州最摇摆的县之一北安普敦县的采访。大家可能已经了解了为什么宾州在今年的摇摆州里面是一个可以说是最关键的2个州之一哈。那么如果还不太了解的呢，可以去看看我在辩论前一天9月9号的节目，标题是总统辩论为啥选在宾州，为何这7个是关键摇摆州，链接呢就贴在下面描述栏里。那么为什么北安普敦县在宾州里又是特别关键的少数几个县之一呢？它是位于宾州的东部边缘，跟费城和纽约市的距离大致相等不到2小时的车程。北安普敦县呢是建立于1752年，有31万的人口。这个县呢历史上一直是在全美引领着重型制造业，特别是水泥、钢铁等等。21世纪世界上最大的水泥制造商总部呢就在此。而世界第2大的钢铁制造商的总部呢，也曾经是位于这个县人口最多的城市伯利恒。但是呢，这些制造业在全球化之后衰退得非常厉害。我们在路途中就看到了一个大型的水泥厂Keystone Cement 完全被废弃了。那么 100多年以来啊，北安普敦县是成为了美国大选的一个领头羊 Bellweather， 或者说是风向标。那是为什么呢？因为啊，它是宾州的缩影哈，它不仅包括城市地区，还有农村、农场和中产阶级郊区。它的人口组成是这样的：白人大约73%，西裔14%，非裔6%，那么亚裔呢是3.2%。截止到2024年1月啊，北安普敦县呢是有22万名的选民登记哈，其中包括民主党将近44%，共和党37%，无党派15%，那么其他党派呢是5%。那么他是怎么投票的呢？投大选的这个票哈，从1944年到2020年80年里面，总共是有20次的总统选举，北安普敦县有7次投了共和党，13次投了民主党。80年代呢，他主要是支持共和党的，之后呢就转成支持民主党了，一直到2016年，川普以0.78%的优势赢得了白宫职位。那么下一届到了2020年呢，拜登数出来票数呢是0.72%的微弱优势。今年大选会如何？那就要看看目前的选情怎样了。所以接下来呢，就来看看我在北安普敦县选民啊对他们的采访。在过去100多年28场的美国总统选举中，宾州有一个县几乎每一次都投票选出了最终入主白宫的人，除了3次。这个县呢就叫北安普敦县，它是位于宾州的东部边缘，距离纽约市不到2个小时的车程。那么我现在所在的呢，就是北安普敦县人口最多的城市，叫 Bethlehem。好，既然这个县的政治脉搏基本上就可以预测大选结果，那不如我们就来把一把今年这里的选情脉搏吧。Have you voted before?
I have, yeah. Yeah.
Which way did you vote?
I voted for Donald Trump in his first term. Second term, I voted for the Libertarian candidate, Joe Jorgensen. And now, this time, I'm still a little undecided, probably going to vote for Trump.
Biggest reason for doing that is?
Biggest reason for doing that is I kind of know what I'm getting with Trump. I don't know what I'm getting with Kamala Harris. I like how he was kind of not anti-war, but he was more against starting new wars when he was in. He tried to end the war in Afghanistan. He kind of kept North Korea in check. He kept diplomatic relations to a certain degree open with Russia and China. He kind of threatened them a little bit, but I mean, we weren't at the state that we're at now with the war in the Ukraine, with Russia being emboldened, and now China becoming more emboldened as well. I'd like to see more diplomatic relations than coming near war.
You supported him first term, but not the second term.
Yeah.
And now, so at that time, what's the biggest reason you actually switched?
I'm very limited government in my perspective, so I think that some of the stuff that Trump was doing towards the end of his term wasn't as limited government, especially when it comes to guns and the COVID spending bills and stuff. The government deficit's way out of control, and I think they just posted yesterday that each American citizen owes $3 billion on the deficit. So I'd like to see the deficit come down so that America can be more prosperous and not be as in tune to the debt that it's in right now.
Biden's term, almost 4 years now. What do you think of, his policies in terms of what you just mentioned?
His policies are kind of status quo. I mean, the deficit's been increasing. We have the war in the Ukraine. We have the war in Israel. Israel's kind of out of control. I think they just attacked Palestine, some kind of Palestinian humanitarian camp today. So there's no end in sight for that war either. And the deficit's continuing to grow out of control.
Then with Harris, do you think you mentioned you don't really know her much?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm assuming she's more status quo. She's Biden's vice president. She's technically second in command. So what are we really going to get different? I'd like Kamala Harris to kind of define herself. We haven't really heard too many of her viewpoints to this point. She kind of seemed like she flip-flopped a little bit. So I would like to see her kind of like define herself a little bit as a candidate. I'd like to see them both discuss the economy. I think the economy is pretty big right now. And I'd like to see them kind of discuss foreign policy as well. There's a lot going on in the Middle East and Ukraine, and with how the Asia, like everything going on in the Asian Pacific and stuff too. So I'd like to see how they're going to both handle that.
How important is tonight's debate?
Yeah, so I think it's important, especially for her, to define herself because, like I said, I'm leaning towards Trump. So if she wants to get anything out of me, then there's probably more people that feel like me. Then she needs to define herself as either her past views, which is okay. I'm not going to vote for her if that's her past views, but she needs to say that she's going to be more progressive or more status quo establishment, what Biden is.
People kind of predict she's gonna just flip, right?
Yeah.
How are you gonna make a decision whether you want to believe her or not?
If she flips, it depends on how serious she is, and then I want to see like who. I don't even know who Tim Walz is. Like I know him as the Minnesota governor. He was really strict with the lockdowns. He had a whole. I didn't like how he had a whole almost hotline set up to narc on your neighbors, whether they were obeying the COVID guidelines or not. So I'd like to see her define herself and how she's gonna, if she does flip, if she's very serious about it. Like I want to see the tone in her voice. I want to see how she acts. If she's just out there saying talking points and saying what she thinks people want to hear, then I think people are going to see that, and I'm going to notice that as well.
Yeah, in her last interview, she said her value didn't change. What does that mean to you?
To me, that was that was signaling that she's more progressive. That she was a more progressive senator from California. She was a more progressive. I know she supported Medicare for all and stricter gun control and stuff like that. So I think if that's her values, then that's great. She's sticking to what she originally was, but that means that she's more progressive.
So for the two candidates, do you have an idea already who you're leaning towards?
I am not registered for any party, so I am very neutral. Okay. I will see what they have.
Among all those issues, what's the most important issue for you?
I think economy of the country. Inflation, economy.
And so far, according to, do you know the two candidates, Trump and Harris, their economic policies?
Each one of them have different policies, good and bad. So it all depends what they do now.
Do you know a lot about Harris?
I don't know much about Harris. I don't know much about Trump because he was our president, so I know him before. Yeah. But we don't know her.
When Trump was in the office, how do you feel about the economy?
I think it was good. Okay. Yeah.
And how about these 3 years under Biden and Harris, the economy?
Same thing. I did not see any ripples like going on.
Really?
Yeah. It
how
was
inflation.
Inflation is the one that bothering everybody, I think. Thank you.
Did you vote before?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Who did you support?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, keep to yourself. I respect that.
Thank you.
Do you have someone in mind already to support?
Yeah, Trump.
Trump.
Yeah.
Okay. Why?
I just think that what he's done in his presidency, if you really look at results and policies, and obviously there's a lot of negative connotation with his presidency and who he is as a person, but I think if you really look at the results and what he stands for, I just align more with his policies.
So did you vote for him before in the past two?
Yes.
You always?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So you're like a more conservative, to speak, or just because you look at his policies?
Yeah, mainly his policies. I wouldn't even say I specifically align with one party over another. I'm not like necessarily loyal to people just because they're Republicans, but specifically with what I think Trump has in mind for the country and where kind of things have gone over the last 4 years. I think he's who I align most with to kind of move forward with the country and kind of improve some things. Border security, economy, really, so average Americans can afford more as well, and energy independence. I just think makes more sense for at least my opinions are.
So are you local here?
Yeah.
This county, I understand, it's a very, kind of a swing, right? So your feeling, is it gonna go Trump or Harris?
Couldn't tell you one way or another. Honestly, I really don't know. Yeah, it is. It is. It's a pretty close race, I guess.
What do you do?
I'm a business owner.
Business owner.
Yeah.
So is business better or worse during the past 3 years?
So I only got into owning a business in the past few years, but so I can't really speak to that. But yeah, I mean, I know like when I was an employee during Trump's presidency, I did see a an increase in my net pay because taxes were brought down a little bit. But obviously I've been able to start a business over the last few years. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot that has to do with people just kind of making decisions for themselves. I don't think just the president should decide somebody's life.
But Trump is saying he wanted to, cut tax for business, right? But then the other side, the Democrats, some of the supporters, they feel it's only for the business owners. What's your take on that?
Well, like I said, I was once an employee, and I remember in 2017 being an employee after Trump got elected. Like I said, I saw a difference in my paycheck almost instantly, where it was taxed less and I was taking home more pay as an employee. So I think he gets a little bit of an unfair rap with that. I mean, I think if you really kind of listen to him, he talks more for the average American than I think most people give him credit for. I mean, I've seen a proposal with Harris that she would want to increase tax on capital gains and even impose a tax on unrealized capital gains, which I think would be pretty significant and poorly impact the economy. Absolutely. So, I mean, there's aspects of that obviously, as you can probably imagine, I don't agree with. But
even though he's cutting a tax for employer, the employee actually benefit as well.
I mean, I would say being a business owner, if I can pay less in taxes, that can allow me to pay my employees more. So, yeah, I would say absolutely. So, but, yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
I'm eager to watch the stable leadership of Kamala Harris have a chance to be presented to the country. And I think it's going to be exciting to hear about people's opinions and notions regarding our economy, because even if things do cost more at the grocery store than they did maybe 3 years ago because of inflation, the fact that our president and this vice president pulled us out of the incredible mess of the COVID economy, it's like triage, emergency room. You stop the bleeding and then you heal the patient, and our bleeding has long since stopped. The healing is going to start, and I think we're going to hear at tonight's debate one candidate who's going to be able to help with that, and that's Vice President Harris.
Have you always been supporting President Biden and now Harris?
That's a really good question. I would say I've never been a supporter of Donald Trump because what I can't back are the bigoted comments. I can't back the vicious bullying takedowns of anyone who disagrees with him. I'm an academic and a person of humanities, fine arts, and science as a background. So for me, an argument can't just be, I'm going to hold you and punch you in the mouth. It has to be based on facts, on reason, and really well-considered opinions. Have I voted less progressively and not as a liberal? Always, yes. But what I've seen from the other side is a closing of the kind of republicanism my own father used to believe in, and this adopting of a kind of republicanism that would have been unrecognizable to the Reagan generation that my dad was a part of. So I'm definitely on Team Harris tonight.
It's widely known that Harris is kind of flopping on some of those issues. What what's your take on that?
That's a great question. What I see Vice President Harris doing is the same thing a great military leader does, and that is the strategy remains similar, but the tactics to achieve that strategy change. And what I think Harris has been so impressive about is the fact that her leadership as vice president, this has given her a chance to modify and adapt to real-time changes in our global world. And that means sometimes you have a different way of trying to solve a problem than you would have 4 years ago.
Before Harris was, became the candidate, were you preparing to support Biden?
I had knots in my stomach. I really did after that debate performance. I respect the president and what he's given to our country over so many decades of engagement. He has not been selfish. He has been a servant. But what I saw at that debate was a shocking kind of example of him having stayed too long on the stage. Great actors do it. Great athletes do it. Great politicians have done it. But the sell-by date for somebody is something that they know. And I think in the case of the president, that debate showed to a lot of us who are his supporters that his time to step off the stage had arrived. So I would have supported him, but I would have supported him in a feeling that he wasn't going to win. So what Vice President Harris wants to do with the economy is to stabilize our recovery and to make it so our pocketbooks and our grocery stores have to manage prices in a way that's appropriate. And I think our allies all over Asia, all over Europe and beyond will look with tremendous excitement at President Harris when she's elected and her leadership. And I think if the opposite were to happen and our president would become Donald Trump again, everybody who's not a dictator is going to feel horrible. If you're Vladimir Putin, if you're the president of North Korea, if you are another strong man elsewhere in the world, you're going to love it. Because that's the kind of language of autocracy Donald Trump traffics in all the time. So do we want the good guys in the world to like us and the bad guys to respect us? I think the answer is we absolutely do, because that's a geopolitical system that's worked for a long time very well for our country.
Putin said actually he supports Harris.
I think he did say that, and good for him. He's very smart if that's actually how he believes. But as a former spy master and head of the KGB, does any of us think what Vladimir Putin says outright is actually what he thinks or what he believes? Or does he say outright what he wants us to think he believes and thinks so that he can then do something different?
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
I just turned 18 for this election, yeah.
Okay. Do you have someone in mind already?
Yeah, I definitely have to see how things play out, but yeah.
What are the issues most important for you to make your decision?
Definitely someone who's going to help out our country, you know, make things a lot better than how they are, because there's a lot of things that we could use improvement on currently, I think.
For example, what are the areas?
Economics, big one. Crime, big one. Increase in inflation.
What's the way to do that? Do you feel the policies in these few years can do that, or?
I think they could help to start bring it down. It might not get better instantly, but you know, anything would be better than what it is right now, I feel like.
How do you feel about the last administration in terms of the inflation?
I feel like it got a lot worse these past 4 years. So hopefully after this presidential election, something will change. But yeah.
Candidates, which one can do that better?
Honestly, I don't know. I have to look into that. But
that's important.
Yeah, it is important.
Yeah. And the crime, what do you mean?
Just someone who's gonna like help try and like, you know, gun controls is just through the roof. It's really bad right now, like school shootings and stuff like that. So someone who's gonna try and help, you know, maybe stop that a little bit.
Illinois, Chicago has the most strict gun control law.
Oh,
but
really?
the murder rate is
through the roof. Yeah, no, I didn't know that. But yeah.
Yeah, look into that. Do you mind sharing who you're gonna?
It's kind of personal.
I respect that.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. Yeah, thank you for sharing
You're
with
welcome.
us.
Bye.
Okay.